What's going on, everybody? Thank you all for joining me today. If you haven't already, please make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel, and most importantly, please make sure you are following me on Telegram at TD Media Group to help circumvent social media censorship and shadow banning. And with the introduction out of the way, let's get into today's news. And today we have to head on over to New Venezuela because the mayor of New Venezuela is free at last. I know when he got the great news that Trump's DOJ dropped all of Biden's charges against him, Eric Adams was definitely screaming, free at last, free at last. Thank Trump Almighty, we are free at last. Yes, he is free, ladies and gentlemen. But some people seem to not be happy about that, right? Particularly, as I like to say, DNC lunatics. Check this out here. I'm not going to go through this whole article. I'm just going to read like the first like two paragraphs, but look at this bitterness, right? Eric Adams, like the January 6th defendants, sees fortunes turn on Trump's actions. I don't know why this woman is so bitter, but she is. DNC lunatic. Check this out here. The Justice Department's directive to drop the criminal prosecution of New York Mayor Eric Adams is one more example that relationships, allegiances, and vendettas are in some cases determining who gets targeted and who gets reprived in the age of Donald Trump. And then she goes on from this point on to just go on a bitter rant that's not worth listening to and it's not worth reading right now. But, I will say this much concerning the charges being dropped, right? I'm not surprised. I don't think any of us are surprised, right? I think we all saw this coming from a mile away, that Trump was going to drop the charges against Eric Adams. Donald Trump has never had an issue with Eric Adams. I've never heard Donald Trump speak a negative word about Eric Adams, right? I've only heard him say on numerous occasions he knew that this was going to happen because the DOJ is something that typically gets weaponized behind Joe Biden, right? And he knew that Eric Adams was going to be slapped with lawsuit and charged once he began critiquing Biden and Harris about the migrant crisis, placing the proper blame of the migrant crisis at the feet of Harris and Biden. Um, I'll say this much. I didn't think that it would happen so fast. I thought it would be later on down the road. I thought it would be later on down the road. I thought that Trump would wait to see if Eric Adams would just continue to hold up his end of the bargain and playing ball as it pertains to mass deportation raids going on in New York City. Now, we do know that he is cooperating because this is something that Eric Adams has actually always wanted. A lot of people think that Eric Adams changed his tune once Trump got into office concerning ICE raids and ICE working with NYPD to snatch up illegal immigrant criminals. He didn't change up his tune. If you were following the migrant crisis as it was occurring in New York, that was Eric Adams' stance. His stance was always to allow ICE to work with NYPD to capture TDA and whoever else is committing crime, right? So, with that being said, I don't think what I believe is that Trump sees Eric Adams as someone who's not going to pose a problem, right? He's not going to pose a problem as it pertains to these ICE raids. He's not going to be involved in leaking memos concerning these ICE raids, like what we covered in the last live stream with the leaks of the ICE raids that have occurred in Chicago, in Aurora, Colorado, and now Los Angeles. And because he is a non-issue, and he was, this was retaliation by Joe Biden. Right. This was complete retaliation by Joe Biden because the charges should have never been filed in the first place. All things considered, Trump essentially just did the right thing and said, you know what, just let it go. Just drop the charges now. And I'm all for it. I think that this is exactly what should have happened. This is exactly what should have happened. So now what I want to do is I want to play a little bit of what Eric Adams had to say because Eric Adams did address this. Obviously, he made some statements. He spoke for about 6 minutes about the charges being dropped. I don't know if I'm going to play the entire 6 minutes, but we can all listen to it together because I haven't heard this yet. So we'll all watch this for the first time. So let's get into Eric Adams' comments about the charges being dropped.
My fellow New Yorkers, as you may have heard, the Department of Justice has directed that the case against me be dismissed, finally ending a months-long saga that put me, my family, and this city through an unnecessary ordeal. As I said from the outset, I never broke the law, and I never would. I would never put any personal benefit above my solemn responsibility as your mayor. It is worth repeating the facts because many sensational and false claims have been made. So let me be clear. I never asked anyone to break the law on my behalf or on behalf of my campaign. Never. And I absolutely never traded my power as an elected official for any personal benefit. No witness ever came forward publicly to make claims against me. None of the baseless threats from prosecutors of new charges and new evidence ever materialized. And this case will no longer continue. Psalms 34:1 says, I will bless the Lord at all times. His praise shall continually be in my mouth. So I thank the Justice Department for its honesty. Now we can put this cruel episode behind us and focus entirely on the future of our city. It's time to move forward. But despite the fact that I am no longer facing legal questions, I also understand that many New Yorkers will still question my character. And I know that I must continue to regain your trust. I have learned a lot over the last year, and this experience has been humbling. But as we have been dragged through this unfortunate prosecution, I never took my eyes off what was important, you and your family's future. And because of that, our city government has never been stronger. Just look at the figures. We have achieved record drops in crime, record increases in affordable housing, and the highest number of jobs in New York City history. And I want to repeat that. Double-digit drops in shootings, homicides, and subway crimes. The most new housing built in a 3-year period ever, and the most jobs ever. We moved more than 185,000 migrants through our system and out of our care. We helped put $30 billion back into the pockets of New Yorkers through direct assistance. And we enrolled more children than ever into early childhood education programs while reducing the cost of childcare to less than 1/10 of what it was when we came into office for working families.
So we'll pause it right there. There's still about 2 minutes and 30 seconds left in this video, but it's clear at this point Eric Adams' reelection campaign has begun. It's very clear that his reelection campaign has begun because essentially that's what's going on right now in this moment. He's trying to regain the trust back of New Yorkers for a second go around as mayor of New York. Literally, as I'm listening to everything that he was saying, the reason you saw a smile on my face while he was talking is because I was trying not to like laugh, because I was saying to myself, yeah, made a re-election campaign begin. It's definitely starting now. But with all that being said, that does it for today's news. Let me know if you're from New York. How are you in the comment section? How are you guys actually feeling about Eric Adams? Right? I'm very curious. If you're in New York, let me know in the comment section how New Yorkers are genuinely feeling about Eric Adams in this moment, because I'm very curious as to what you all feel his reelection odds are. You know, I have no idea being all the way over here in LA, but once again, please let me know what you guys think. And with all that being said, that does it for today's news. So please hit the like button on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel. Share this video on your social media platforms. And as always, please make sure you are following me on Telegram at TD Media Group to help circumvent social media censorship and shadow banning. And with all that being said, thank you all for your time. Until the next video, peace and have a great afternoon.